Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Radiant team ban. Dire team pick.
One of these days, my mic will unmute it when I tell it to. Gogan, we're in game 2. We got Team Freedom making an excellent comeback after that last game. I don't expect to see Storm banned out, but I do expect to see some different drafting going on.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if you can call the end of that last display a game so much as a disassembly of sanity for EnemyGG. That had to be a devastating loss, right? They came out and showed that they had technical prowess, that they could make good strategic decisions, that they could hold themselves back, and then just the floodgates opened on their aggression, and they went deep, constantly, and drowned over and over again. IX might going to play the Doom again, more than likely, and why not? It worked out for Team Freedom last time.
Yeah, the lane, while the bottom lane went well for both offlaners, it was just something where the Doom was able to get up more than, of course, we would have seen on the position 4 Doom. It was a very rough early game for Team Freedom, but they managed to, as you said, they fed tactically in a couple of places to just buy time for the Storm, buy time for the Spectre, and then, of course, there were just a couple of team fights where they started to roll things over.
Yeah, and tactical feeding is a real thing. It's not something we see very often ever since 6.82 when those comeback mechanics were shot up on steroids and thrown into the game, but there are rare cases where you're already behind and those comeback mechanics don't exist, right? They only work if you are ahead of your opponents in net worth, essentially, right? That's when your team's value ends up getting rolled into everything else that's going into the AoE gold. So if you're really far behind and the extra couple of gold is not going to make a difference, and one core item could mean the difference between winning a fight and losing a fight, do whatever you can to buy your core the time to get that. And Team Freedom did literally anything they could and ended up buying that time. Whether it was intentional or not, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, I really like the Axe Lion pickup from Enemy. I feel like the downside is, I like it from a costing perspective because it's going to be fun. I feel like the downside is getting the axe out early gives away a lot of what you're going to do, and also is a hero that can be somewhat dealt with. But obviously with the buff to things like Blade Mail, with how powerful we've seen, just getting off a good call being pretty untouchable, could end up working for them.
I'm sure that you remember the complexity game we cast just a few hours ago where that axe was not handled very appropriately. He can be very strong either out of the offlane or out of the farming carry position if you do have a good macro understanding of power spikes and aggression. I'm not convinced EnemyGG are really quite there yet as a team in terms of their overall, not that they lack understanding, but that they don't execute on that understanding reliably. That's really what it feels like. I love that Team Freedom picked up the Doom first before they went into the Timbersaw to make sure that Doom is not still in the pool.
I also just, it's nice and tricky here now for Enemy. They are playing into a Timber who of course does really well in blowing up heroes like Lion, and of course has that great whirling death for the Axe to steal a lot of his business, can play in and out with the Chakram to make it hard for Axe to get around. Yes, in lane it may be difficult because of the amount of crowd control the Lion can bring to the table, making it hard for Timber to get away, but Timber Chain is just so nice, helps you get around so easily.
And Reactive Armor is pretty good here too. Of course, with the change for Axe to be doing pure damage, that will be difficult for Timbersaw. It's just a little bit more. But all things said and done, that Axe might still end up in the off lane anyway, right? So we don't necessarily know that that's going to be.
Well, For Freedom and Enemy, they get some bans now. Now, something else, obviously, have been costing a lot of Europe. How's the DK fare in this area? Because
Very, very well. I think we've seen
okay.
them banned in most of the games we cast, actually.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I was wondering if it could make it through, because I feel like here, if either of these teams, you're in a little bit of a spot where suddenly things are getting incredibly tanky and hard to bring down, and someone having a mid DK, both sides could turn that into some sort of push lineup pretty easily with what they've got.
Yeah, Enemy don't love the DK as far as I've been able to tell. I think they only run it with the Life Stealer. I've only seen them run it with the Life Stealer anyway, if I'm recalling the correct games. So Freedom don't seem that likely to ban it, and I don't think Freedom actually run it very much at all. The region itself seems to be pretty into the DK. We might still see it banned, we may even see it picked, but the only reason you would see it picked probably in this game is if Team Freedom decided that they wanted to go into a very push-oriented one. I don't think EnemyGG necessarily have the intention of going into a early to mid-game victory. It's just not their play style.
It's gonna be the Bounty Hunter. I think a good ban out. That Bounty did so much work last game, just helping them to get back into the game a lot easier than they would have. And also the Death Prophet ban out, so Enemy aware that they could, or might be indicating that they want something in particular in mid who fares really poorly against the Death Prophet.
Yeah, I think maybe EnemyGG are just concerned about that early push. They don't want to give up the early ground. They don't want to be giving up early objectives because they are a team that likes to take their time. Banana Slam Jamma does get active in the laning phase, but he does tend to kind of fizzle out a little bit and try to farm up a few extra items. He can be a little greedy, and losing towers early, especially if he is going to play something like his signature Slark, can be very difficult for him to play into.
Yeah. Now, for Freedom, just waiting on that last ban before we get some more business going on. I'm really interested to see exactly where the Timbersaw ends up going. Obviously, we've seen a variety of different positions of the Timbersaw. On this patch, we've seen all three of Timbersaws in core roles, but it's going to be immediately the Skywrath counter for EnemyGG, while BSJ Slark does get banned out.
Yeah, I like the Skywrath. It's a good response to the Timbersaw. That nice silence is devastating for Timbersaw. In addition, there's a lot of magical damage that comes out of the Skywrath that gets around the reactive armor potential, alongside the Axe, who is going to be doing potentially pure damage, and the Finger of Death. They have a lot of ways to kind of burst this Timbersaw down. That said, one silence is usually not enough in order to shut a Timbersaw down, so they will need to be able to make sure that the Lion is close enough to engage on those stuns to follow up.
Yeah, it's really a nice lane as well for you can zone people very effectively as the Skywrath, or let's say you want to just make sure your mid gets off to a great start, you can have the Skywrath spend the first level there, throwing out those arcane bolts, so being a real pain. They go for the puck into it. I'm really interested that that's what Freedom decide to pick up.
I like the puck here, at least in the what EnemyGG have, right? He's pretty slippery and difficult to get a finger on for the Axe, or for the Lion stuns. The Hex is obviously instant, but the Earth Spike can be dodged. In addition, if Skywrath Mage does rotate mid, as he is wont to do, and harass out, those are very slow-moving spells as harassers, and Puck, as a mid laner, will be able to dodge out a lot of that damage, deterring the Skywrath Mage from spending too much time in that mid.
It does, though, feel like this might be a game where if Enemy can get off to a good start, Puck might feel forced into a Lincoln's or something similar, just to deal with the amount of disables that there are coming out of both the Lion and the Skywrath.
Yeah, it's possible. There's a lot that they have to pop Lincoln's, though. So I think maybe even a BKB might be more likely. It's a little bit quicker to grab, but we probably wouldn't see that till the late game anyway. The Skywrath is a pretty good response to the Puck in the mid game in terms of that silence being available, but if the Puck is keeping his distance, if he's being positioned strongly, then Skywrath shouldn't be able to get in range of the silence.
Anti-mage.
Okay.
All right.
I was not expecting an AM to come out here.
Well, EnemyGG, you know? Sometimes they just like to grab AMs.
If it is the off-lane Timber, it's always nice to... I mean, Anti-Mage is one of the heroes who can better harass him out of lane, obviously, getting rid of his mana. I'm just...
They got beat in the
playing
late
it into
game
a
last
Puck
time.
and into a Doom is difficult.
Yeah, they got beaten in the late game last time. They don't want to get beaten into the late game again this time. So they're going to grab the anti-mage. God only knows how they're going to build them because the item choices coming out of BSJ have been very atypical lately. Even in that last game, the lack of BKB arguably costing them a lot of engagements, potentially the game. So I don't take anything for granted when I'm watching BSJ on EnemyGG anymore, right? Because they do some pretty off-the-wall stuff these days.
5 seconds.
Yeah,
remaining.
it'll well, as you said, it'll be interesting to see exactly how they follow that up and how the lanes go for them. But Spirit Breaker going to be picked up. Just a nice way of dealing with always, you see the AM maybe farming a little bit. You set up the charge from across the map so that your team has a great idea of his rotation throughout the jungle. And there isn't the easiest of responses if there's a charge on mid either, since, you know, I guess Lion can TP in, try to get the Hex and the stun off, but Spirit Breaker, you know, if they see a TP, can just easily cancel. Maybe, you know, just make someone waste quite a bit of gold.
Yeah, I'm starting to get concerned for both of these players, or both of these teams, excuse me,
10 seconds remaining.
just because neither of them really have a way to knock down towers. So for Freedom, they've got a lot of gank potential, a lot of mobility, but unless they absolutely shut down EnemyGG, the farm will still probably be there. And similarly, for EnemyGG, they have a fair amount of space makers, but until that anti-mage get going, they don't really have a good mechanism for knocking down towers.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, we're not, I mean, we've discussed this before in other matches, but sometimes on this patch we are seeing teams neglect to pick up something that can help them really push if they do get some kills. That's going to be very true for both of them. You can argue that AM, once he starts to get bigger, can split push very effectively, but that's kind of, you know, it's kind of how most of them go. But in the early game, even if Team Freedom win a big team fight here, it's like all of them would need to be there poking away at that tower.
Remaining.
Yeah, so once again, though, no real
5
tower
seconds
push coming out here for Team Freedom. They're going all in the ability to maintain and control.
I mean, their team fight is incredibly
5
terrifying.
seconds remaining.
Yeah, it is, and their gank potential is pretty terrifying, too.
The one thing I'm a little bit worried about is BKB piercing damage for Team Freedom. They really don't have much that's physical, and while they have a lot of pure coming out of Timber, of course it's not a problem. That is going to be the DK that we were talking so much about. I mean, we've seen this matchup. The DK can sometimes have a really great time against the puck. The Spirit Breaker should be the X factor there.
Yeah, and the Dragon Knight is going to be that push that is lacking elsewhere. It also creates the space, right? So, I don't know. I do like EnemyGG's lineup overall, but Team Freedom's lineup, if executed correctly, would be just much better in terms of pace setting.
Yeah, they have a easier. It feels like a lot easier way to kind of figure out how to. Sorry to say this. Their timings are easier to pick on.
Yeah.
They've got a much easier go time when they should be smoking up and getting stuff done. But either way, we're gonna be loading in here. We don't have a pause, it looks like, so we're good. Already seen one TP out, but we've got Boris playing on that Timbersaw. We've got Eagle on that Spirit Breaker. Sunbee, of course, going to be playing on the Puck. We got IX Mike on the Doom again, and then that is not the one I was looking for. The Disruptor, the one who TP'd out already, Jubilee, actually places a ward here, and now trying to figure out where Jubilee wants that next one.
All right. And, yeah, they are going to need to make sure that they're maintaining control of these lanes, as Freedom, if they get into the mid game without having lost any sort of control, like we said, they've got pace setters. They have very active, very gank-oriented lineup, and they need to make sure that they're in a position to utilize that.
Very true. So, we're gonna just see the normal rune posturing that always happens coming out here, while Sunbee, we haven't got any big odd reveals. We've seen the Staple and Timbersaw. A couple other teams have been running this, notably Rebels actually runs it quite a bit, I feel like. But I do wonder how the Axe is going to fare. It's a really tough lane. I actually am expecting this Axe to have to jungle.
Yeah, he'll probably grab an Iron Talon and just kind of rotate into the offlane camp, at least for a little while, waiting for those wizards to kind of push out. I don't know that they really have the potential for that Axe to get out and get anything anyway. Like you said, with the charge and the Timber Chain, as well as the Whirling Death, which does reduce his effective hit points as well. you as an Axe need to be extremely careful. You've got no traditional escape mechanisms, and really the only thing that keeps you alive up here is your armor and your high effective hit points.
We'll see how the mid lane ends up turning out. They did do a good job on Hexen, managed to get the D ward here, so it's going to go a little bit better for the DK, or not so dominantly, with Puck very easily able to harass. But at the same time,
Oh,
Slayer...
dear.
Oh...
But the Disruptor's looking for a courier snipe here, and will probably get it.
Oh, well done there by Jubilee.
Let's see if he's able to get out.
Oh, the tricks. The tricks! They knew it was coming.
Him?
Somebody scrimmed. No, I think it's just... this is a couple of regions. Every now and again it happens, I would say. I've seen it a lot in NA Dota, at least. And I've seen it a few times in Europe where they're just expecting it. And it looks like the courier actually is being dived. Puck gets it!
Wow.
Oh, goodness. But Sunbeam Maypay with his life just goes down.
That's probably worth it, to be honest, because the Dragon Knight is going to need to control Rune. You can't control Rune into a Puck necessarily, especially if you're going to have a roaming Disruptor going around to help kind of stave off the top Rune as well. Which means the Dragon Knight's not going to have a bottle to use as soon as the Puck gets his up, and he almost has his up. Plus it gives gold to the rest of your lanes in order to make sure that they're doing well. It's a rare case where giving up a First Blood is worth it, but I think this is one of those.
Yeah, also because of the way that... Oh, sorry about that. But because of the way that the Puck died, it's a little less impactful since it gets shed quite a bit. I think the other hardness here for DK now, yeah, as you said, has to go for the runes, which you really don't want to do. You just want to be sitting there spamming that Breathe Fire, being a real pain. Although he does get a regen, so maybe it's going to be okay.
Well, you know, the Puck doesn't have the bottle out yet. The bottle's on the courier on the way out. Can't really control the rune effectively until you have the bottle, otherwise you're just kind of wasting your time running around in the river, playing in the splashing water instead of actually getting your job done. So
yeah,
that very likely will be the Dragon Knight's last rune for a little while, though.
Take a look, we can see that they're very even in the mid lane. AM also getting some farm on par with the Timbersaw, actually having a bit of trouble with how tanky the Doom is. Once he's drained all his mana, doesn't have a good way of really sticking it to him.
Yeah, that is pretty true. There's just not a lot of control there. Well, trying to maximize returns out of that regen room, though.
Now they're standing, fighting in a lot of creeps, and again, charge coming out onto BSJ. He has to be careful here. He, of course, does have the blink at the ready, so should be able to get on out, pop that salve, but just another reminder that Doom, incredibly difficult to deal with.
Yeah, especially with the Spirit Breaker able to initiate globally, right? That the fact that Doom can be postured extremely aggressively, and you don't know if he's going to have support or not, unless you happen to see the Spirit Breaker charging or not charging with a ward or something.
Well, speaking of Spirit Breaker charging, actually, they don't have the slow up yet, so they can't do anything. But maybe they'd be able to make it happen, but BSJ just supposed to go back to farming, and the courier for the... Yeah, the courier's back up, so DK was just fine. Did manage to salvage things there.
If Puck dove again and got that courier because it's not flying yet, that would be
That's when you
pretty
cry.
A+.
That's just when you cry in your games. Usually, we actually see a little bit of engagement. Again, they're trying to bring it to Doom. IX might getting very low here, but he's so bloody tanky. That poor man's shield. Okay, the Arcane Bolt doesn't care about it, and actually, AM will get the last hit there. So another kill being stacked up. Hexen in a lot of trouble here. They're trying to use the body blocks to stop the Spirit Breaker from getting it. No more mana for an Arcane Bolt. So Eagle will be able to walk it off. But, oof, that took a lot, and Puck coming in.
A very good Doom grab there. The Timbersaw is out farming the Anti-Mage by quite a bit, but Anti-Mage is getting a contested lane and Timbersaw is not. The Axe did rotate into the jungle over the last minute or two. And then in addition to that fact, right, just the Anti-Mage doesn't need to get going quite as quickly as the Timbersaw because he's not supposed to come online until later anyway.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good for Freedom how rough this lane IX Mike is making for BSJ. That sentence could have been constructed infinitely better, but at the same time, you know, they did just rotate the Puck off of the mid lane, so DK got to poke away at their tower some. They also, as you said, it's not great for Axe, but he's certainly able to farm somewhat, stuck in the jungle. So we'll have to see if it's all going to end up panning out for Freedom. Meanwhile, a little bit more of DK's Dragon form. He should poke away at this tower, bring it down to about half health.
Yeah, he'll be able to chip on it. There's not a lot that the Puck can do at this point. Despite having gotten that courier, despite my predictions that the Dragon Knight would not be able to utilize his bottle, Honestly, Team Freedom
Oh.
didn't. Oh.
Yeah, he got spotted. It's not anything.
Eagle's thinking about charging out of the Roche pit, though. He pokes his head out for vision, but gets seen because of it. We'll end up putting down a ward, but he gets seen putting that ward down as well. And he's seen waiting behind this tree by this ward that's about to expire. Right here. So, this is just... Yeah, Mr. Magoo's Fear
Oh
Breaker.
no, we are still trying to murder Mike. Oh gosh, BSG goes really deep. He needed just one more hit, but too many heroes coming in and around, and they will kill off Frozen. They will kill off BSJ. And that was exactly what they didn't need. They were doing...
just lose a game because of that? Like, honestly, they just lost a game because they dove too deep after what seemed to be tantalizing targets. At what point in time do you stop that behavior, right?
Yeah, I think it's just rough sometimes forgetting. One, it was nighttime, so maybe one expecting the mass amounts of TPs. A really deep dive too, which enabled Freedom to TP to 2 different towers and just take advantage of the lack of cooldowns when you do it that way. So, well, not lack of cooldowns, lack of adding the extra time. And I think Enemy underestimating how willing Freedom would be to rotate. So, really good play there by Freedom, taking advantage of the greed on Enemy.
Yeah, Enemy, yeah, once again, greed is a good word. The avarice is coming back and biting them in the butt. BSJ was doing very well in this lane relative until that point, but now he's behind the puck, he's also behind the Timber Saw, and he gave an excuse for Team Freedom to get successful rotations out, which means Team Freedom are now able to go out around the map and assert some map control without having to walk around.
Yeah, the thing that we see here that can be really scary is the fact that for Enemy, by not having anybody up in the top lane is just great for Freedom supports. They can kind of do what they want. Meanwhile, Mike is forcing them to keep somebody down bottom because they are having trouble with him on the Doom.
Slayer is doing very well now. You gotta give him that. He's on top of the net worth. He's got 40 last hits, 7 denies.
We may have just jinxed that because Mike is coming towards the state. The DK drops the Dragonfall. There is a charge coming on through. Slayer in a lot of trouble here. Manages to get the Breathe Fire off, so he's taking very little physical damage. There's going to be a silence onto Mike. They're trying to bring him down while Slayer hoping that Dragon's Blood can do something from him. A few more auto attacks are coming out. I hear the ult, but I am just watching Slayer. Oh, he's charged up. He is going to go down. They are so deep, though. If Enemy are unable to get anything from this, they will see Eagle just get cold. He'll go down. Timbersaul's now here, and they blow up too. Just with his Chakram, the Whirling Blade, the Chain. Oh my goodness, and it is not what Enemy wanted.
Okay. This is going to sound really critical, and I don't like to be really critical of an individual player. But Banana Slam Jamma is willing to dive up to basically Tier 2, Tier 3 territory in order to try and get a kill, but he's not willing to TP to his own Tier 3 to participate in that fight. Like, they dove really deep, and I know that Anti-Mage does not have a lot that he can contribute to fight, but...
He mono-voided something. I did not see what it was, but I heard his mono-void come off.
Yeah,
did he get glimpsed back after his TP?
Did he? That would make this much more reasonable. His lack of rotation. I didn't see, but I'll keep an eye on the stream to catch that
because I was just watching. I was watching DK the entire time, and it could have been that BSJ came in, managed to get the mono-void off. Unfortunately, did not get much out of it, and then, you know, get sent back immediately.
Yeah, that's possible. Or he could have just used the mana void on nothing. That's a possibility too.
In mid, we'll see Slayer continue to probably poke at that tower. They're actually going to give it on to Sunbeam. There is the stun. It was stacked with the silence. The charge coming through onto the Skyrath. They need to bring down this puck. They will manage to get the kill there. There is a Thunder Strike onto Frozen. Jubilee. Oh no, you have come to the wrong neighborhood. There will be that long-ass Dragon Tail stun. It's up again, but they back on out very wisely. There will be a glimpse. They're stuck in the kinetic field together. They need to breathe fire to try and help out some. The nice stun coming out of Hex, and Boris will not be able to continue forward. The dot damage, will it be enough? He throws out the slow on Boris, and the silence is there, and manages to drop the hammer.
There we go. That's a nice rotation from BSJ. That's what he needs, right? He can come in, he can be active when he can actually make something happen, but otherwise far. He didn't have to dive very deep. He let his opponents get out of position and then leverage that against them like a very skilled judokan. And that is what he needs to be doing in this game. And it's honestly what I'd like to see more from him. Because when he does do that, he's a very skilled player. But when he lets his avarice get the best of him, he honestly just throws games away.
Well, it's gonna go back to being pretty dang even. Freedom did get a bit of a lead off of that last fight, but of course the turnaround there And DK is proving to be a tricky, a slippery guy. He's just so tanky. Almost has that omelet as well, which is going to make him harder to bring down.
No money.
Okay, so the chat is just getting to the point where that fight happened. So I'm sure that they will tell me if I was wrong in BSJ.
You can maybe just see it in the map. Oh, I don't know if it calls
Yeah, I missed it because we were casting.
Yeah.
But
Horrible things when we pay attention.
Glimpse was not used in the fight recap, so it doesn't look like he got things back.
Oh, guess who's gonna be in trouble? It's BSJ in the bottom lane. We'll try to jump over to somewhere safe. We'll get glimpsed into a kinetic field, but there is DK to the rescue. Slayer's zoomed up though. IX going hard in onto him, and now BSJ in the middle of trouble again. Slayer trying to walk it off. The rest of his team is about to be here. They just need to buy enough time, but will it be enough? BSJ doesn't manage to get out, but will they kill the rest? The chop in the dunk, it isn't enough. Annihilate in trouble as well, and these heroes, they're also tanky. Slayer manages to come back in with the breathe fire, but it looks like it will be a 3-for-2. Frozen, unable to do much here, maybe going down as well. The puck orbing in, drops the Dream Coil, and they will have their way with this Skywrath. Freedom coming out victorious.
Very, very nice from them. Right. They realize that they've hit a certain point where it's difficult to kill their heroes. They group up, they make something happen without a lot of threat of the counter engagement coming out of enemy. Enemy just aren't quite there yet. One of the downsides of picking the NME is that you're just not able to face into pure aggression into the lane where the enemy is. He needs to enter once the fight has already started.
But, oh, excuse me, guys. But there's still hope, you know, they do have an AM. Once he gets up to Battle Fury, he will be very scary. We actually have a charge in mid attempting to get the deny, isn't able to. So that'll be something going enemy's way.
Yeah, enemy are doing, all things said and done, a pretty good job of creating some potential momentum in toward that mid game. BSJ is farther behind where he would like to be, but he is going into a Vlad that'll give him some jungle sustain, and they just need to make sure that they're getting some space for the anti-mage, getting him into the late game the same way that Freedom did for the Spectre in the last game.
Yeah, it also was a really, really difficult lane to be an anti-mage in. I mean, IX Mike played it really well, but also he's on a Doom. This hero's so tanky. Okay, we nerfed his ult a little bit. That doesn't stop the Scorched Earth, the Infernal Blade business, which yes, I know has also been touched, but still. It's just a really good hero.
Right. Yeah, Eagle is going to charge. Let's see if he wants to actually go for it. He will try to... No, he's actually going to be hexed out.
Yeah, I think really good job there by enemy not overextending into that. I initially thought it might be something they could go try to play into, but understanding that Eagle wouldn't be coming up alone without some friends, and they managed to not get engaged upon and actually smoke up themselves. BSJ, despite not having the Battle Fury, is coming with them. Oh gosh, they got the call onto Sunby, and yet suddenly no mana on this puck, does not manage to get on out. That's going to be a kill for the anti-mage.
Yeah, alright, so once again, creating a little bit of space. Anti-Mage does well if he is able to move in with his team and kind of contribute to the kill, but not necessarily have to be the whole of the kill, right? For Freedom, they got into a position where they had some power spike, and I'd really like to see them utilizing that. Doom is about to grab a Shadow Blade out of his stash, and hopefully that's going to be a good initiator for them.
Yeah, I think for Freedom, it's a bit of an odd spot because I do worry if they sit back and aren't proactive, just because AM's physical damage will start to get out of control. Actually, Boris is about to be found here. Okay, he manages to not get on out. Oh gosh, we blow up the Boris immediately, but a Static Storm, it lands on the 3. Frozen will be able to walk away from this one. And Hex on the other side, but here comes the Shadow Blade on IX Mike. He manages to kill off the Axe, dooms up this Dragon Knight who cannot catch a break, and they have so much damage coming out. What is going on? DK goes down. We will see Skywrath soon to follow, and that will be all of them dead except the AM.
That was really, really well played from Freedom once again. Getting that engagement to open. It happened to open when IX Mike was kind of walking in with that unrevealed Shadow Blade, and the surprise of having him pop out and doom somebody really threw enemy through a loop. They just... There's no reason for them to be prepared for that.
Yeah, and something really big here. Puck is level 11, so Puck has those 2 maxed out Waning Rift Illusory Orb, and that just did so much work here versus the level 9 on the DK. I was wondering how DK dropped so fast there. Sure, he was doomed up, but you often don't expect to see that type of quick pick-off unless the Puck has a veil, but this Puck doing really well on the levels. Oh, I'm gonna try to get the deny. Actually, I'm a little... Okay, we see the glyph come out. Somebody has to wander away. Does have the invis, but they're not gonna be able to do too much else there. He's actually expecting Puck to come back in,
Yeah.
and now he can go
He's
for the
trying to
deny.
bait out the tower, but not quite that greedy coming out of Sunday.
A nice play all around. Freedom get themselves a little bit more of that lead, up to almost probably 4,000 when this thing settles down, and 3,000 experience.
Yeah, so this is about to become a bloodbath, I suspect. The Bloodstone is now officially done in the Timbersaw. It's on its way out on the Courier. That is the moment where you want to get as many kills as you possibly can, right? You want to get the Bloodstone charges up, and moreover, while you have that sort of farm advantage, you want to utilize it before your opponents can catch back up. So there's still a Blink on the Axe, an Armlet on the Dragonite, and a Vlad's Vanguard on the Anti-Mage. They are pretty defensively capable, but if they get caught out by a smoke, and they're going to walk right through it.
Yeah, the nice scan there by enemy. I also think the Lion really close to the Blink, so that's going to spell when enemy want to maybe get some more aggression coming out. They should realize, yeah, they even drew on the map. They expect this to be coming from behind him. The big thing I'm worried about for Timber is before having his own Blink, it might be a little bit difficult. Here comes the charge out onto Axe. He has to know DK immediately tries to blow up IX Mike. The Dream Coil, will it save his life? No, it won't. There'll be no doom this fight, but already a lot of folks on enemy very low. We do see the Lion go down. We're seeing Boris just having a field day. That's what you're gonna do. There's a call. Maybe they can do something about him, and they do blow him up. Puck jumping in over on the sides. They're gonna try to go in for Eagle. The Breathe Fire does a good amount of work, and Eagle will fall. And enemy, they take this one. DK Omelet toggling right on the edge of things. Oh, Axe, not quite the correct guess with the call, but do they not have TPs? They do have TPs. Sunbee is just gonna get caught here and will go down. They'll... Yeah, they just found him and immediately managed to Dragon Tail.
That was a really nice play by enemy. I'm not sure who initiated that scan, but everything from the scan forward was just them reading the situation like a book, and Team Freedom was very punished.
They may be able to catch out Forest here. Just the chain CCs. Forest getting very low. Does, of course, Timber Chain over to the sidelines. Not sure that they have enough follow-up, and guess who's coming to town? IX Mike, who still has the Doom. May just pop it onto Slayer. Decides not to the call. Right into the middle of all of them. That's who ends up getting Doom, but he still manages to spin there. They have picked off the DK finally now. IX Mike again just caught in that Mystic Flare. That's got to be irritating, but they'll bring down BSJ. They'll bring down this Skywrath as well. So at least IX Mike gets his revenge.
Yeah, that's a weird engagement. It kind of went back and forth, but the Timbersaw having died before he got the Bloodstone charges, at least some consolation for what ended up being a very bad set of engagements for enemy. But they do have the Timbersaw down to 6 Bloodstone charges right after he purchased it.
Oh gosh. Oh, really nice Hex coming out there from Hex. Although this one not going to be as easy to get away from, so they will pick themselves up a Lion as well, and technically a full team wipe.
This is a roller coaster of emotion. Look at the net worth chart. It's 1,000, 4,000. 1,000, probably going to drop down to 3,000 again.
Radiant's middle tower.
Also, BSJ has decided to go for a more unconventional build. He's gone for the Vanguard, Vlad's, and now is probably going to work on that Manta. We've seen this happen a few times. I don't know which one by the numbers is more efficient.
I feel like this is one of the more conventional builds I've seen BSJ go.
Oh gosh, okay, well,
two.
he is in a lot of trouble here. There's a Dream Coil to stop his aggression to make him... Oh, they wanted to make him eat that chain or that chakra, but they will not get it in Jubilee. Before even the dunk can come out, the finger is there because Hex has the blink. Gonna give the suck off to Timbersaw a bit. Boris, Timber Chain's away, not enjoying that. Can they follow it up? There's another blink on cooldown. There is going to be a call. Boris, of course, has a bunch of ways of getting out, but not if he's silenced up. A nice charge on through Boris. The dunk isn't enough. They still need to bring this guy down. The Monovoid just literally nothing on the backlines. Do get picked off, and Boris still just chaining away. Will get cold here. They should have the damage to finally pick him off. It is a 2 for 2. 2 supports for a core, and Doom going after poor Slayer again. Can this DK catch a break? Gonna have to Omelet toggle very carefully. Gets rid of a lot of physical damage here, but will not be able to get it. Although, Banana Slam Jammer coming back in. Going to get disabled here. Some Axe is ready with the call. Has the blink onto the wrong spot, unfortunately. Will now reposition himself, but still can't really find it. Missing that blink really going to cost him. Throws out the Blade Mail. Might be able to kill off Eagle here, but of course doesn't have the dunk since it got misused. Although Eagle, a couple more auto attacks will bring him down. So it is a 3 for 3, I believe, when the dust settles.
Yeah, and continuing to keep Timbersaw's Bloodstone down as well. It's still down to 6. They're not
Oh
done yet.
gosh,
Nice fight.
oh no, the static storm onto 3! It's just gonna blow them all up! They even managed to send one away, and suddenly everybody's dead. You were just saying about keeping the charges down, but Timbersaw gets 3 new ones.
Yeah, the problem with keeping the charges down is that it is a perpetual struggle, right? It's like keeping children fed. If you don't do it every day, it's not worth anything to have done it in the past. He's now all the way back up to 9, and all the good work that they've been doing about singling out the Timbersaw to open up the fight just gets mitigated right away.
Yeah, and as you said, it's a roller coaster. Look at this net worth. It is trending towards freedom, but it's definitely up and down and all around. And the problem with this constant fighting, as you said, is that it's really favoring freedom, because even though Boris is dying and losing bloodstone charges, he's generally respawning fast enough to come back in and be useful, get some more gold. AM hasn't had a chance to farm. Yes, he's gotten the Yasha up, but it's not as valuable as maybe, you know, having the moment to finish off that Manta and be impactful in these fights.
Yeah, well, the build that he has opted for is not a farming build, right? He built the Vanguard, he built the Vlads and the Yasha, and presumably with the intention of getting in and fighting relatively early and being a more combat-oriented animal. And to his credit, he has been involved in a lot of these fights. I mean, 10 out of the 17 kills for his team, he has touched. But having the Manta would definitely be a good step in the right direction in terms of burning off some of the mana for freedom. Especially this Timbersaw that has so much mana that has not been.
They try to catch out Eagle. They will get him, unfortunately, right onto the Static Storm combo. I fear Jubilee is going down anyway. They do manage to get that, and now they can work in on Boris. Still silenced up with the Dream Coil on the backline. My camera zoom isn't enough for this, guys. Fight him one, please. But they're gonna go on to Frozen. The Mystic Flare, not enough. Still, they're getting Boris very low. The Doomed up. Dragon Knight in a lot of trouble. They do manage to pick up Zombie on the puck, and DK will go down here. There is a buyback on the Charger here. Jubilee also bought back. So Enemy should probably retreat here, realizing it was their win, forcing out those 2 buybacks.
Spearbreaker's thinking about going in to try and grab Frozen.
Yeah, he wants some of that business.
Still thinking, okay, he is going to pull off.
Yeah, and it should be the tower for freedom, but of course, as we saw, oh no, it might not be. They're both jumping in. There's no static storm here. He still has the Mana Boy. Didn't actually need to drop the hammer there. We have nasty P's. Annihilate goes down, but now Eagle in a lot of trouble. And here, where is the Mana Boy? He still hasn't used it. Finally drops it there. Banana Slam Jam is still surging forward. He doesn't have anything new to show for us, and he will just blink over this.
Nice,
but oh,
Bay.
yeah,
Beautiful juke. He's going to be able to get away here.
And it is Jubei, you were right. I was saying Jubilee because I'm
Jubilee
not cool.
Is, it's a word that sounds like a name that a gamer might have.
Yes. Either way, that is going to be, again, oh, look at this net worth graph, headed right back up in Enemy's direction. So really nice play there for them. And it does feel like we do have pretty near constant fighting. The item progression's pretty slow. I think Boris may be going to get his bots up soon, which I think would really benefit here with how aggressive everything is. But we actually have a Necronomicon on a puck. I cannot remember the last time that was built, and there is no time to talk because IX Mike is showing off his new fresh BKB, giving it right to BSJ's face. He's going to get picked up here. Dream Coil being broken. They will find the 2 kills, and Frozen most likely to be the 3rd.
That was a nice glimpse to force the Dream Coil to break, but Enemy are doing a good job of dragging this game out. High combat, high contact. They are keeping the net worth disadvantage relatively close, which is pretty good for them as well. As long as they don't lose high ground, they do theoretically go late a little bit better than Team Freedom does, but Team Freedom are still playing with an advantage. They still do have a window to win here without actually running into that late game ammo position, especially with Anti-Mage's build. He is going to scale a little bit more slowly than you would normally expect one to, because he doesn't have the farming potential that a Battle 3 Anti-Mage.
Yeah, they now know about the Roosh, but it's not like Enemy can do too much about it.
They're thinking
Not
about
really.
that accent.
I mean, they might be able to get the kill on Iron Mike, actually. I also really like his itemization of the BKB. As we can see, it's been helping out quite a bit here. But finally, Roshan will go down to freedom. There we have it. And that'll be a nice pickup for them. We have had, what is this, 53 kills in a 25-minute game. We're doing well.
Yeah. Dragon Knight also being singled out a lot in these fights, and I think that's been a very good call by Freedom, right? Because Dragon Knight is the space maker, the pressure pusher from Enemy. We're gonna have to come back to this.
Yeah, Axe nice pick off there. Now IX Mike in the BKB again, just going on to Slayer. IX Mike, though, he's kind of waiting for his team to catch up. There it is, Puck with the catch up, gonna try to blow up Slayer, manages to get the kill. Hex actually blinks away, but unfortunately drinking the Dream Coil, gonna stun him for ages, and he should be isolated out here, brought down. Orb doing good work.
Freedom, once again, singling out the Dragon Knight as possible, really slowing down his Diamond progression, making sure that he's not going to be able to apply the pressure to open up space for the Anti-Mage. He's not going to be the force to be reckoned with that you would normally expect a Dragon Knight to be at this stage in the game. Doing a very good job of that. Now a gem on the Disruptor. Still, I mean, Dragon Knight has been working off of an Armlet Mortigian since like 11 minutes in this game, and hasn't got any other completed items.
He did really well in lane, guys. We saw that he actually did win the lane against the Puck, but unfortunately there was just no follow-up, and as you said, there's no space to farm here. Now with Necros coming, there's just not going to be time. These things will help them push really fast, charge onto Banana Slam Jam, and he does get stunned, comes back into the Static Storm, and he will get brought down. He is not going to have, oh he does, he actually immediately buys back here, but Boris is deep inside of their base. They manage to get the pick off onto IX Mike, they get the chunk, the dunk comes through, Axe still trying to go forwards, accidentally kills one of the Necro creeps, and now he's in so much trouble, throws out that blade mail, but it is not enough. Hex getting brought down here, the Breathe Fire too little too late. They'll try to now work onto Boris for the nice Nether Strike onto BSJ. His ult doesn't do enough to Boris, but they might still be able to bring him down, but Boris, he is looking for BSJ. He might be able to get it with a Chakram here, and he does. Kills him off, and Boris still isn't dead. Slayer, where is the Breathe Fire? It's not on cooldown. They will throw out an Arcane Bolt, and Boris Timber Chains over to the sideline. He actually does end up going down to the well, but of course that is just Aegis. Eagle gonna charge on through and get out with the Glimmer Cape. No, this Arcane Bolt should be able to get him. Can't outrun that.
He'll have Glimmer Cape up in 6 seconds.
Yeah, he's
not the hell.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
That was just insane, and Boris still actually just working his way out of their base, doing just fine. Gets caught out here, does have another Timber Chain in a few seconds, but the finger, as he's Timber Chaining away, will be enough to bring him down.
Boris is really hesitant to use that pocket suicide. Not really super into the idea of killing himself here. There have been a couple of instances where it seemed pretty likely that he was going to die, and he's just not drinking the Kool-Aid, man. He wants to try and Timber Chain out 100% of the time. He's got confidence in his jukes, Llama.
I don't know, this one's been an action-packed slugfest, as you predicted early on in the draft, but it is going to be Freedom now, 7,500 gold ahead, 10,000 experience as well. They are doing a great job here.
The gem's still on Disruptor as well, so Spirit Breaker under the cover of this invisibility rune is going to scout out and feel pretty safe doing so. He can't go all the way up. Has a sentry ward here on the Radiant side to make sure there's no funny business, but that's mostly to protect against it.
Well, there's gonna be funny business. IX Mike's looking to make sure of that. He's getting ready to find someone to doom, and Slayer is probably just gonna take one of these again. DK can't play this far up. IX Mike looking for it. He's trying to play very aggressively, trick them into overextending so his team can follow up. Puck also has the Necros level 3 that could just be dropped here to take away this Rax, but instead, IX Mike just doing some D-Warden. And here we go, they're just going to start working on the melee Rax. Necro books have been popped out. Cliff coming out from enemy. They have Dragon Form in 10 seconds. They need to hold out for a little bit longer.
Such a slow push because there's no innate push on this entire squad. That's why the Necronomicon had to be purchased, but...
Yeah, okay, there's the blink in by the Axe. The BKB, a nice finger coming out from Hex, but will it be enough? There's going to be one dunk. Eagle charging over to the sidelines. The Chakram coming through, blowing up the Lion. They are still just trying to kill some of these. Hex immediately buys back, goes in for it. Maybe is going to be able to get the kill there. Puck, oh no, a beautiful Static Storm again, putting Slayer in a bad spot. A glimpse backwards onto BSJ, so he can't finish off the Puck, and Subi Sunday manages to just blink forwards.
Alright, well they got the melee Rex.
They did, but maybe they can still get themselves some Sunbee. It's not looking quite like it.
Look where this Timbersaw is. He's just chilling. He doesn't have... He's gotta wait till he can blink out because he doesn't have a TP or something yet.
I am giving it a little bit of it to Juby, but not quite able to finish the game, the guy's health. And yeah, it is, as you said, melee Rax was taken. Buybacks were used.
That's what Team Freedom needed, right? Because they are increasingly under pressure to make sure that they have a more sizable advantage in terms of just map control, as their heroes will end up scaling down compared to an Anti-Mage. And the Axe also returns a ton of damage in the lane. Very difficult to handle. Not to say that a Doom, not to say that a Timbersaw don't go into late game as well, but the pure damage output from an agility carry is hard to match.
Now, without the Battle Fury, I think this is a bit difficult here for Enemy to deal with being one racks down. It's one of those advantages of going the Battle Fury. If you do end up having to deal with pushes, you have a way of clearing the creeps. Should they go back for it, or is it just say, look, no, we desperately need that Mantra up on BSJ, that buyback forced out of him, really put him back?
I don't think they're going to have the time. Because of the aggression from Team Freedom, they're going to continue to be forced into fights, and the only way they get back into this game is if they win these fights. So at this point in time, they really just need to focus on combat items. They need to focus on killing out Team Freedom inside of their own base and annihilating that push, rather than focusing on being able to stop the push from first. Focus on the immediate threat before you focus on the threat from attrition.
Nice, Mike coming in again, Shadowbladed just gonna drop that Doom onto Slayer, who's getting glimpsed back into a horrible position. He's looking to get brought down, will have no buyback here, and IX Mike's BKB is over, but it doesn't matter, they're just gonna pick up Frozen at this rate. Mystic Flare way too close to their base, the Finger not even gonna bring down Eagle. He is getting low, but it's not enough. Axe jumps into the middle of them all. There's a nice ult coming out from BSJ, and the Timber Chain is interrupted. Boris not quite able to get away. There's a gem on the deck, maybe they can do some more to Boris. Annihilate will have blink up in 1 second, goes for burns out the call, but now manages to actually get a call onto the two of them. He needs some help. There is a nice stun going out onto both of them, and BSJ gonna try to bring down IX Mike. Forrest does blink and jump on out, and Eagle lives on 25 health after that Battle Hunger, but they see him. They might be able to catch on up. It's very difficult with that Spirit Breaker, but that's a one fight.
Yeah, BSJ managed to finish off the Manta for that fight as well, moving into what looks to be some more base defense games. If Team Freedom continue to charge in like that, and kind of get outmaneuvered, they will probably just end up falling. They'll just end up losing all of their momentum and then being unable to push, and it'll be like water against rock. Slowly but surely, their advantage will erode away. So for Enemy, they just need to continue doing that right there. Don't get too aggressive. Don't get too far out. Let your opponents fail a push over and over again instead of you yourself trying to take activity.
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job on Enemy, trying to stem the bleeding, and also BSJ trying to do as much as he can with these Manta's illusions, just saying, hey, I'm gonna try my best to get some push on, because their team does need it. We've all seen before how Anti-Mage, because of how mobile he is able to do some good split pushing, although it kind of feels like, and I hate to say it, but it does feel again like a game where, as much as you don't want to, BSJ may need a BKB on that core.
He may need to go into that. Now that he does have the Manta up, it may be worth going back for the Cleave as well. Just to generally handle... I mean, in the late game, the Cleave is really effective against the Timbersaw, whose reactive arm. It makes him extremely survivable in the right clicks from agility carries, right? Spirit Breaker has pretty decent armor as well, as does at this stage in the game Doom, and Doom's only going to build more and more. So the Cleave damage, which does to cast that armor, would be a good way to handle these heroes if they are going to keep up. Would also help them deal with the super. Whether or not he goes into that next is, I think, still up in the air, as he does need to make sure saving buyback wins.
For Freedom, they're looking to pick up this Roshan. That's going to be nice for them. It might mean that they can take another tier 3, maybe even a full Rax with this advantage.
Yeah, it's going to take them forever to knock this Roach down, though, because they have no objective-taking ability whatsoever. All of these towers have been slow pushed down like a fine pork roast or something. It takes all day long.
It is just difficult. I mean, look, I know, it's difficult. It's not the glorious, like, glamorous push we wanted to see where Roach takes 4 seconds. You know, it's going to take them a while, and unfortunately for Enemy, they didn't have a great way to respond to that.
Yeah, it's just... Team Freedom, to their credit, realize they're drafted for aggression and have been aggressive. And the towers kind of come out of enough successful aggression. That's the only way they really take towers. They can either be so successful with their aggression that they scare Enemy into not engaging, or they can be so successful with their aggression that there's nobody left on Enemy to stop. And then they can just kind of do the slow burn and eventually raise the base. But, whew, it is a slow process for sure, and for Team Freedom, they need to find a way to create opportunities like they've created in the past to knock a hero or two out before they actually engage into these fights.
Oh, they know they're gonna go for the charge up onto Frozen. Annihilate looking for a good call. Manages to get it so that Sunbeam will be unable to do too much, but there is the Doom onto BSJ, and now the Chakrams, both of them coming through. BSJ going to get blown up there quickly. Sunbeam not locked down for long enough, and Frozen taking mass amounts of damage from their team. They are still looking for more, but the TP's away will leave Enemy with 3 to fight another day. BSJ does have that buyback on cooldown again, but it's not something you super want to use. His progression has already been retarded a lot.
Yeah, it has been slowed down pretty substantially, but partially because he didn't go for the farming build, right? But to his credit, the combat build did create a lot of opportunities.
Oh, a nice call by Annihilate, getting onto a bunch of them. Also has that Blade Mail coming out, and the finger, they managed to burn that Aegis. AM buys back, forced to here. They're going to try to pick off Eagle, see if they can do enough damage, but Timbersaw about to throw 2 Chakrams into their faces. Annihilate in a lot of trouble, eats the double Chakram. Still, Slayer trying to do what he can. We'll see the buyback coming out of the Axe. BSJ in a horrible spot. The chain misses off the mark. They have to be careful. A nice ult coming out of BSJ, trying to do some work onto Boris, and maybe they have enough, but IX might coming forward with that BKB. The Mystic Flare, Boris is still bloody alive. Somebody bring this man down. Finally he'll go. And now Puck jumping around. IX Mike still full health. Slayer trying to do what he can there. They're bringing him pretty dang low. Doesn't have Shadow Blade for 15 more seconds. IX Mike will go down. One more auto attack. Tug trying to delay them. Unable to. And now, oh, they managed to get the silence onto Sunbeam. And he should fall here as well. Really well played there. What a hold from Enemy. Oh my goodness. Just as I say that, I should not have said anything.
Hey, a hold is a hold. You lose the Dragon. I mean, the Dragon Knight's
That
3,
was
8, and 17, right?
That was an omelet toggle problem, though. The Disruptor, like, had the Thunderclap up, but
Right.
yeah, he just mistimed it slightly.
They didn't, lose a ranged barracks, but that's not honestly that big of a deal here. They held on to their tower, and the big cost there was that the BSJ did have to buy back.
Also the Axe,
go
of
into
course.
the Basher for the Abyssal. I think that's a reasonable grade.
I mean, you kind of have to once you go to Vanguard. Yeah, we'll see a nice blink forward, double Chakram onto Hex, caught in that kinetic field. They even dropped the Static Storm. Looks to be right, Jokes. Freedom getting their pick off. Maybe they'll find some more, but oh no, Annihilate has found the Disruptor. There's gonna be a nice charge in. Mystic Flare on top of the Disruptor. Where is the dunk? There it goes. Now they're gonna manage to drop the gem. Eagle trying to just use that BKB to get away, but Cole pierces that business. Eagle getting brought down and will not become that gem's true owner, but the double Chakram, it's melting even this tanky Axe.
Timbersaw did manage to grab the gem off the ground to preserve it for his team. I'm not sure if it was worth the life of the Spirit Breaker to try and make that happen, but they got it. So there is a gem up on Enemy, right? Or is it so on? Yeah, the Enemy could buy a gem if they really wanted one. So the idea that you need to preserve that gem to save IX Mike, or you need to preserve that gem to save your own ward, probably not to. Both teams could just straight up buy one right now.
We will not be seeing as many Bloodstone charges as last game, but this Timbersaw doing pretty well. Okay, we actually see a jump over onto the sideline. Puck thought that Invis would be helping Fairy Dragon out, but Boris is here with a double Chakram. It's not enough to save the Puck, but look at how low they all are. Stuck in the Dream Coil, there is going to be the Doom onto BSJ, so this should probably be his death. He's just going to turn and fight, knowing he's going down while Annihilate attempts to escape here. Oh, get used up. The BKB has run out, and now Annihilate in a lot of trouble. A beautiful double stun and Mystic Flare in the finger. They may lose the Axe, but they get 2, putting a damper on all of those Bloodstone charges again.
And moreover, this is actually really good, because they do not look likely to lose any structure to the base right now, and the Anti-Mage's prolonged respawn time is going to be used in a period where Freedom can't do anything. The next time the Anti-Mage respawns, he'll respawn faster than he did this time because he had to buy back. So getting that long respawn time out is really...
I would like to get off this wild ride. Like, this is just, both of these games, incredible turnarounds. I'm not sure if Enemy is yet in the position where they can take it, but as we've been talking about,
is under
it's
attack.
much easier for enemy to push. Sure, they don't have a Necronomicon, but DK melts through towers. It can ever get some farm like an AC, those things are just going to go down.
Yeah, Anti-Mage pushes pretty hard at this stage in the game as well, right? He's an agility carry. He attacks very fast, he attacks very hard, and he will only continue to do that more so as the game goes on. We are seeing, to some degree, that puttering out, that stalling, as it were, of Team Freedom's momentum that I had been talking about a little while ago. And you can see from the overall net worth chart as the periods of their gain had longer and longer lulls in between. That's partially because of respawn times, and it's partially because of their inability to actually go high ground often. So they aren't out of it by any means. They still have an enormous economic advantage and a strong map control advantage. But breaking this high ground is proving to be very difficult.
I mean, this is what the changes to the map have done. We talk about it every single game, but of course the towers being moved back, the tier 3s a little bit, and of course the changes to the armor. This little still doesn't have the right image, but this little bit of the whole armor thing just makes it harder and harder to siege. So my big thing is if this DK can become more of a factor in this game. I mean, he's sitting down there at 6. It isn't great, but considering how many times Slayer has been doomed, I'm actually okay with his progression. If he can get up something like an AC, I think that could dispel the doom of Team Freedom.
Wait, say that again for me. I didn't quite. The Doom has an AC. Yep.
Oh no, the Dragon Knight getting the little bit more form.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It would mitigate.
Doom does have an AC
reduction.
though. It would be great if they could get something to deal with that, right? Because as you talked about earlier, when we saw Doom pick up the plate mail, this guy such a pain to bring down. You can see each team fight we get to watch poor BSJ just pound into IX Mike, and he doesn't seem to have any effect.
Right. I mean, he's got so much armor at this stage. Earlier on in the game, he's not a very high armor hero, but at this stage, functionally, he's got way too much armor for an agility carry to single-handedly.
Oh. They are smoked up inside of enemy's base. This is as tense as you're gonna get it. And if Axe just like randomly blinks to farm, he could be in a world of hope, but nobody's gonna go. Actually, it's gonna be Slayer. Slayer's just... I mean, we know it's a foregone conclusion. Slayer's getting doomed again.
And fight all the fronting. It's not going to be much. Yeah, so just a for the record sort of moment, that Doom has about 5,700 effective hit points after armor into physical damage, right?
Oh, goody.
Right. So you do need to either be able to get around that with pure damage, you need to be able to get around that with cleave damage, which goes around physical, or with some sort of magical damage, where his reduction is going to be a 25% instead of the 57%.
Yeah, obviously this seems to be really good for Enemy. They've been given a little bit of a break from all of the business. They're getting some time to farm. Aegis is going to be up really soon though, and we can see from the graph that Freedom is being more effective across the map. Obviously it's also a bit easier for them since they have the super creeps in this lane, so they just get more out of the map full stop. But this Roshan, it's back, and suddenly Enemy, I mean, I don't think they have bad Roshan pit fight at all.
But they just can't get out there. Right, but if they go out to the Roche pit and they die, they lose the game. If they go out to the Roche pit and they ignore their base being sieged, even if they win the fight but don't kill all of Freedom, they probably lose a tower in top. So they're going to try to bait out Slayer here. This is an okay decision because they probably can't make it to Roche in time anyway. Although look how slow
No,
this
I
is.
think they could. This is I actually think that going for the Roshan, unfortunately for Enemy, they don't have the global vision we do, so they don't know how slowly Freedom has been taking these Roshans. They're finally gonna Radiant finally checks it out, realizes, shucks, we missed the Roche, but that's gonna be cheese as well, going the way of Freedom. They're gonna put it on to Mr. Timbersaw, get some cheese. So
it would just be so dangerous for them to take that Roche fight. Instead of taking the fight by their tier 3 tower that gives them bonus armor and high ground advantage. Granted, now they did just give up the Aegis and cheese advantage, but they've already beaten the Aegis advantage twice, defending high ground. And now they're better suited to fight high ground because they have more items relative to their opponents, right? And they have less disadvantage. It's going to be hard, but they've done it before, and theoretically they could do it again if they play very tight.
Well, for Freedom, they are going to most likely have to slow siege this, because as you mentioned, if they group up, they're going to have an axe to the face Although Mike having that Aegis may change up some of this. Obviously, as he gets close to the towers, they're gonna also be affected by that AC. So he maybe can just go up and poke them. And this one's already below half health. They're giving it a go. Slayer throws out that 35% less damage onto everyone. But Mike, oh my goodness, those Necronomicons, they just go too fast. The tower's already gone. Slayer suddenly doesn't have any mana. Maybe needs to back it up a little bit. Gonna get glimpsed backwards, caught in the kinetic field. He's gonna try to stand there and take it, but he's gonna get blown up immediately. There's the buyback from the DK. Mike in a lot of trouble to dunk, unable to do enough damage there. Mike will turn around, use his boom on the anti-mage. He'll go down, but that is just the Aegis. But on the Sledgehammer, not in the worst of positioning, but their rack has been lost. And now Puck managing to dream coil a number of them. Mike in a lot of trouble. They'll finally bring him down. BSJ very low. The Doom does wear off. He can buy back. Gonna come back into this one. Sunbee is silenced up here. Gem on the deck. They don't have enough damage. And will BSJ be able to get out there in time? He does, of course, have that Abyssal Blade. Probably just gonna have to use it on the cow. Doesn't even bother. Should just be able to auto-attack this fellow down. And while they did defend, they lost another melee Rax.
Yeah, that's actually not terrible for Freedom. As long as they don't have this turnaround, then go turn into like a Rax of enemy zone. Team Freedom ended up with more gold out of that than Enemy did because of the buybacks, both on the anti and on the Dragon Knight, I believe, right? Yeah. So 2 buybacks going out, and in addition, they got that extra Rax, and with no cleave damage, no real AoE damage at all, other than DK's ult, which you don't want to have to use to defend off supers and potentially acts as counter helix. Enemy are not well equipped to handle supers on opposite sides of the base. Maybe they could handle supers in the middle and one side because it's easier to travel between those 2 lanes, but this has just got very, very difficult.
Yeah, again, they don't have the wave clear, and we can see they were doing some good work to make it back in, but then just with that team fight, sharply dropping all off. I'm not sure if the play here for Enemy is some sort of, just all group up together, try to get a push down mid lane.
Yeah, they really can't. They need to let Freedom push again, to be quite honest. They have to take a fight where they have an advantage. They have to, I mean, they could try to smoke around behind their opponents, but they have to take a fight with a moment of advantage. They can't just straight push, because that's giving Freedom the opportunity to initiate with the Disruptor, to initiate with the Puck, to move in on their own terms, and Enemy can do anything but give Freedom their own.
Yeah, it's very difficult for them. They need to wipe them. They need to wipe them, not actually twice here yet, because Freedom doesn't have buybacks, but I'm sure that if Freedom get themselves into a position where they're going to go down, they're going to make sure that they're stocking up on those. And even if they didn't have buybacks, it would be at most 1 lane for Enemy, since only the top lane doesn't have a tier 2.
Yeah, top lane just takes longer to push around because it's greater distance, right? The shortest distance between 2 points, straight line. With the Dragon Knight and the Anti-Mage, they should be able to chew through towers pretty quickly. Mid would probably still be the quickest way for them to get out. Of course, pending laning. If the top lane happens to be pushed out really far, then top lane would be. But there's also no boots of travel up on anyone from them. So, regardless of where the creeps are, their entire team is going to have to walk out to anywhere they want to push. Honestly, I think they, in most cases here, are going to have to win 2 team fights before they're realistically going to be able to go out and take objective.
Endurance run.
It's a rough one, so we will wait on Freedom's terms to see when they're going to push. We're going to see an Ags up soon on that Spirit Breaker. Puck, of course, has had the Ags for a while here. Forest now has an Octarine, so that Timbersaw is now harder and harder to kill. And I mean, this is just kind of the power of this hero. I feel like Timber, we've been seeing some of the European teams experiment with him in a 1-position role. I really feel it's quite good. Just with very few Bloodstone charges, we've been seeing this Timber do quite a bit of work.
It's much less good in metagames that are not based around strength heroes, that are not based around high effective hit point heroes, right? So Timbersaw, not only is he getting around the Dragon Knight and just destroying him because he's got pure damage, but also because every time that he reduces his stats, he's reducing Dragon Knight's damage as well as his effective hit point pool by reducing his raw HP, removing strength, right? So Timbersaw has a lot of answers to strength-based cores. He does not have very many answers to control-based cores out of mid lane. Somebody like, for example, a Puck, who does have mobility, who does have a silence. So It really depends on the draft, I think. In this particular case, so Boris has been doing a bang-up job.
Well, we're probably waiting on the next Roshan. Didn't quite see when it was going to respawn, but for either side, it's going to give them time to get another few items. Obviously, for BSJ getting close to being slotted, I wouldn't be surprised if... I do feel like he needs a little bit more survivability. It kind of sucks, but it does feel like he needs a way to survive the potentially getting doomed. So maybe having something like the Heart just to make him all the way up for that. Because you know he's getting the doom or DK's getting the doom.
Yeah. The problem is, whoever gets doomed there is just going to be useless, regardless of what happens there, until people start dying. Really what they need to be able to do is jump on the doom and kill him before that doom comes out on a primary target, or they need to bait the doom out on somebody less valuable. Preferably somebody less valuable who still has buyback. In this particular case, that's probably the Lion. Blink in, get an Earth Spike, throw out a Hex, allow yourself to get doomed to bait out that ultimate, and then buy back once you die. That opens up some space for the Dragon Knight and the Anti-Mage to go in and make trouble. For Enemy, their success has largely just been contingent on, does Axe get a good call? If yes, we win fight. If no, we lose a Rax. Unfortunately for Annihilate, he has been doing an extremely good job in terms of finding the right calls.
It's not enough.
Yeah, it's just not enough. That's right. And if he misses anything, the team loses huge ground.
I think that is part of the problem with Axe. Very impactful early on. Obviously, that call as well, it pierces BKB. It's a fantastic spell, but you need someone else to be backing you up, and they just did not have the AM or the DK where they needed them. This DK has been shut down so hard. I mean, and you can't... It happened all in the mid-game. It was that pretty much, at 17 minutes is when maybe the fighting started to break out. Maybe even earlier. And then it went from 17 minutes till the 30-minute mark. We had just constant fighting, pretty much. So,
yeah,
we're still almost at 2 kills a minute, at 52 minutes into a game.
That's pretty ridiculous, actually, now having looked up at that scoreboard. The problem is, even with over 15,000, close to 20,000 net worth advantage, at 52 minutes, that advantage means a lot less than it used to. And moreover, we have seen over and over again that Team Freedom just do not provide as much with their draft in the late game as EnemyGG. Despite the fact that Enemy are playing from an enormous deficit, they are still trading pretty even in these fights, doing a very good job. And Freedom need to wait for the next Roche. You can actually see Jubei is just chilling in this pit and waiting for Roche to respawn. The second it comes up, they'll jump in there.
It's the right decision. I mean, they know that they can take another Rax at least with the Aegis, and you may as well wait for it. You don't want to make this go to a game 3 and then have your tournament life on the line. You just want to take it. You want to get it done.
The AM, by the way, is holding on to the gem now. I'm not sure. The fact that AM has a casual slot open at 53 minutes for a gem, that's a pretty bad sign in and of itself. All other things set aside, that's really not what you want to see on your carry.
There's been 2 or 3 buybacks, I think, for BSJ. He finally does get the BKB up, but yes, there is some serious levels of underfarming on Enemy, and that is just because, as we talked about, AM, a hero who would rather sit around and farm while the other 4 make action happen, didn't have that opportunity, didn't have really much he could do. And similarly with the DK does want to get up more than just the armlet, maybe, you know, the blink as well before the fighting starts, but Freedom did not let them have that. Basically said, you can give up your towers or you can give up your lives.
I really do think that the BKB will help a lot here, though a lot of what is hurting this anti-mage is the damage command of Chakram, and while that is pure, it does not pierce spell immunity. Will allow the anti-mage to kind of get in there and do a little bit more. Now, granted, that won't help him against the Dream Coil necessarily, won't help him against the Doom, certainly, but at least it's going to give him a little more mobility and a little more survivability in these fights. And you had mentioned earlier that he needs to get up some survivability into the face of this Timber Saw.
Yeah.
That is one way to do it.
I mean, it's just, Timber, as much as at the very beginning of this draft, I was worried about the lack of physical damage on Team Freedom. Once you're past the stage, BKBs are very low. Of course, Anti-Mages is fresh, but once you get past that stage of the BKBs, you're just like, whatever. I have double bloody chakrams. They're pure damage. Come eat it. So that's pretty much what Boris is doing here. I mean, to be very blunt, and of course, you know, Whirling Death's a nice little add-on to that, so is just not easy. I think for Enemy, even though they have some very tanky heroes.
This is the new iPhone came out, and Freedom are just waiting in tents outside of the Apple Store. This is all they ever wanted right here. They're taking this a little bit more quickly than they took the last one. It's probably going to be down in under 30 seconds, so that's a victory in and of itself. But
yeah, well, IXMike's starting to get some of that physical damage.
yeah, look at that. They will get Aegis, they will get Cheese, 55 minutes, and now they should have some advantage in order to try and get one more lane of racks out. At that point in time, it's all about just leaning on the broken leg and letting their victim fall over of his own accord.
Yeah, now, we are going to see this push coming their way. We do have a lot of buybacks on the deck, none for the AM though. So this is going to probably influence how BSJ plays this one a lot. We already have a BKB coming out. Slayer manages to blow up Jubilee. There's going to be the buyback on Jube. And now Puck yielding off all of that Mystic Flare. BSJ is doomed up here. Eagle trying to work on the supports, but they managed to bring down the Puck. Buyback from the DK immediately will not have the Dragon Form for the fight. And BSJ is trying to just run it away. Everybody has bought back pretty much. There's going to be a nice stun on the Paras. He's going to go down. He has buyback as well, hasn't used it yet. IXMike looking to use life number 1. The dunk not on the mark because IXMike has a bloody heart, and there's going to be another strike on 2Hexer. He has buyback as well. Whether they need it is the real question. An aggressive blink forwards, will it pay off for Slayer? He's going to get the kill off onto 1, but Puck has come back in. The full stop away from Frozen, and the sun coming out from Hexer. He has come back in. DK is dead though, and there is no buyback on that hero. BSJ in their fountain, I believe. No, he was trying to deal with the creeps coming in. He has to be very careful here. He blinks away. There's going to be a finger out onto IXMike, who no longer has the Aegis, but the bloody Charcoal's coming into their fountain. AM Axe doing great work there, picking off IXMike. They are in trouble. The top range Rax is going to go down here. We hear a buyback coming out from Doom as well. Nice job Annihilate being in the creep wave, and they managed to blow up the Puck. That's a dieback there as well. Bar is standing here though with the double chakra. Is just quite going to be able to catch out Annihilate. These four stars doing so much work, and the stun's going out onto Boris. There's the call. The Abyssal going to get used as well. Boris very low. Do they have that ult? They have the Mana Void in 6 seconds. They will not bring him down because finally a deny coming out of that fellow. Is that the first one of the game?
That's the first of the game. There are some situations that just cannot be avoided, and I think he finally saw that one coming from a mile away.
We had 5 buybacks. I hope everybody who's watching this game is happy because these players are doing their best to keep us at 2 kills a minute by everybody using their buybacks. Nobody won that fight. Enemy came up 200 gold better, but everybody lost.
It was a mid-tower and a ranged barracks for Freedom, right? As long as Freedom don't get GG'd here, they got something. And they will probably be able to control some semblance of map control, though it will be much harder after that fight.
Oh no. The creeps though, the creeps have it in. They need to destroy the catapult. Either way, okay, they do manage to get a tower. We've actually got some action going on here, so we're gonna have to pay attention to the catapult another day. Shadowblade gonna help. So they actually have to be really careful here because those creeps may just end up taking their
Enemy. I don't think Enemy cares. I think Enemy just wants to go in and end this game now.
I mean,
they know there are no buybacks available. Maybe they are going to back up. This is actually uncharacteristic of Enemy. And a little mature, to be honest. They often will just see a Kobayashi Maru and seed the game in a blaze of glory. But here they are going to back up and play strategically and litigiously and make sure that their opponents are being forced to take every inch.
And I hope you guys know what that means. It means we're gonna wait another 10 minutes for Roche to spawn. So all of you, go take a break because this game got another few minutes in it yet. Now, of course, if somebody makes a bad move out, we haven't been checking on it because there's been so much action. Enemy have no smokes on cooldown. Does not look like they have any on their persons, and my courier hotkey is broken after the patch, so yeah, none on the courier.
No buybacks for either team here, and buybacks have been keeping Enemy in these
fights. Gosh, they do manage to pick off the Disruptor. Now trying to give it a go onto more. There's a nice catch on IXMike here. Do they have the damage? He's getting very low. Annihilate in trouble. The Blade Mail doing so much work, eating the cheese. Gonna help save out IXMike, but he is getting incredibly low. He'll go down, and they're not done yet. They managed to catch Boris here. They need some lucky batches. He's blown up. There are 3 heroes without buyback dead for almost a minute. Are Enemy about to make it to the other side of the map?
They're gonna try. There's no buyback, and they know there's no buyback. 100 seconds is a lot of time, but remember, they don't have any wave clear because there's no splash on BSJ. Look how slowly he chews through the
And
flame.
there's splash on the dragon. It's gotta be enough.
Yeah,
Flare
but
coming up.
they won't have this dragon form for very much longer, so they're not
Also
going to be able
gonna-
to chew through the tier 4s with it.
Also, they're gonna cut the creep wave. So this is the wave that they have. Work with one of them as
That's
Puck
the only
blows
wave
this
they'll
up.
need, fortunately.
Yeah, and Axe may actually try to give it a go on to Sunbee. Will not be able to. Sunbee does jump away while the Spirit Breaker finishes it off. Sunbee has now come back up. There is still 30 seconds with no Timber Sword. This should be enough to take this Rax. Oh, BSJ is
They're gonna go
going for the
tier
end.
4s. Yeah,
I
they
think
have
I
to.
don't disagree with this, but at the same time, it is really rough. They decide to go back, pull the Rax, even up the odds. There's going to be Puck jumping in, silencing them all up. A nice invisible charge coming out from Eagle, but it's not going to be another beautiful static storm. They walk on out with their BKBs. Disruptor dead again. 15 seconds for the Timber Sword. They still haven't taken the Rax. They're going to give it a go on to Eagle. Gets stunned up here. Mystic Flare has been dropped. Somebody take the Rax. Somebody take an objective. And they
There
will
we go.
return to working on it. There we go. I believe backdoor protection should be kicking in. Yeah, they just managed to get it before that kicked in. So they get something here, Enemy. This should look like a bit of a win for them. But we still have heaps of this game to go because they weren't able to seal the deal. And no, never mind. I spoke too soon. Sunbee blown up by the Mortivoid.
He shouldn't have been there, to be honest. That 90 seconds is going to be harsh. Boris needs to seed this out, needs to seed out 1 or 2 of the tier 4s and wait for the Doom, maybe wait for the Disruptor. This is a very rough situation to be in if you're Freedom. You've got to remain here with some patience, and they can't go in too early. They are going to use the Glyph.
They're gonna have to work together, as you said. Doom now coming out, gonna immediately throw it onto BSJ, throws out the BKB, throws it in a lot of trouble, but they get the call onto IX Mike, and they are now just poking away at him. Mystic Flare right on his head. That's a 5-second BKB at this point, and it's looking like Enemy somehow, against all odds, have done it for this one. A beautiful static storm, but they just need to hit buildings, and we're going to a game 3.
It just takes that one slip up for Freedom, moving in a little too aggressively. They had all the lanes out. Boy, you know, from Enemy, a very nice, patient defense, though.
Yeah, really well
yeah.
played, and really good job capitalizing on that window they had with all the buybacks down, and as you said, just being patient, waiting for Freedom to come to them.
Yeah, you can tell I'm a little at loss of words here from Enemy. It's uncharacteristic of their play. It was very well done, and I'm very happy to see them expanding their repertoire from face tank, face aggressive, and